Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to ShoutCraft Kings. After a month's hiatus, we're back with our biggest, best, and most explosive tournament yet. My name is TotalBiscuit. I'm joined once again by the illustrious Mr. Jeff iNcontroL Robinson.
Ooh, illustrious. Thanks for having me, John. Happy to be here. You are, as always, my energy spirit bunny animal.
I mean, every one of those is true. I'm not sure in that order or that sort of level of relevance, but one way or the other, it's all good. I'm okay with it. I don't really mind at this point. I'm chomping at the bit for some StarCraft. 1 month off is too many months off.
Agreed. Happy to be here. We have a nice magnetism where every time we come together, really good games happen. Also, technical failures, which hasn't happened yet, so I'm excited to see how that manifests. But that aside, there should be some great games.
Yep, it has not really been too much of a problem in the last 10 minutes of testing, so I'm sure everything will be just... Peach, no,
I mean,
God.
with 10 minutes of timing, though, what could go wrong? You know, I mean, we've basically found everything, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, you know, and you're not on the houseboat this week, you know, with the portable microphone. It's all good. Everything's gonna be just fine. Oh, no.
No,
I certainly hope not.
Nope, no excuses. We should be good to go. Sounds good, sounds fine, smooth, we're all great.
Indeed, I believe in your commitment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is ShoutCraft Kings, the ultimate StarCraft 2 King of the Hill. $7,500 on the line here for anyone who's good enough, anyone that has the skill, and anybody that has the fortitude to be able to win it. $350 a map. And that is a hell of a lot of money. Plus, of course, the opportunity to claim the King's Bounty. $25 will be added on to the total prize for each map that the fallen king has won prior to being horribly murdered by the person that eventually topples them from their throne. That's a lot of money, Jeff.
It is, and I would say it's a pretty cool. It's not just about the money, but it's like a good example and showcase of these players going up against other top level players too. It's been like several months since we've been like, here's Stefano or somebody like that. And even Stefano is like a former, top world-class, absolute best player. So all these guys are on the same level and same field. Each three races represented. I'm just excited to see who comes out on top. Because last time, I think our highest... You remember January, who had the most wins in a row? It was like, what, 4 or something?
Yeah, 4 was the most. I believe Bjorn and Sue got both 4. Sorry, Bjorn, not Bjorn. That always happens. Bjorn and Bjorn. No! Stop it. My brain is gone. Tuzerg, Bjorn, and Sue. Yes, 4 streaks and 3 games worth of streaks. That was it. That was the best that they could come up with. A grand total of 9 of the 21 players won only a single map.
That's astounding. That was amazing. It was a bloodbath, is actually what
it really was. It was a mess. So we're due some long streaks. We tend to alternate between the two. That seems to be what actually ends up happening. You can see the total wins on the screen right here. A lot of money has been paid out. Innovation leading the pack with a total of 15 wins over the course of his ShoutCraft Kings career. Nurcio biting hard on his heels with 12. And then both Bjorn and Solo with 11 wins apiece. The question is whether or not somebody today will be able to catch up. I don't really want to wait too much longer. I'd like to get right into these games, and I know the players already in the lobby are chomping at the bit, so I am ready to reveal our first challenger. Our current King of the Hill, after winning the shortest game in ShoutCraft Kings history, at a grand total of 3 minutes and 19 seconds, after a 4-axe versus a failed 1-base Zergle in his bunny. Can he translate this into a real game? We're about to find out, because his opponent is no pushover. His opponent, ladies and gentlemen, is certainly a fan favorite. I don't think there's any real doubt about that. And an incredibly strong player who has performed unbelievably well over the past few years in ShoutCraft tournaments. A champion, indeed. It's Root Hero.
This is the Smiling Assassin, yes?
Indeed it is, and he may very well be smiling indeed if he cashes in on some of that delicious Blizzard and Ting.com money today.
I see what you did there.
Indeed.
I'm excited to see this matchup. PBT was in a bit of a seller position a little while ago. It's come a bit out of it. A lot of Protoss players are feeling more confident, but both these players kind of typified by their micro. They're very much so control-oriented players. Some of the best micro I've ever seen execute at the highest levels is from Hero, but Bunny seems to be kind of the hot hand as of late. I just saw him recently lose, I want to say it was to Beyond, I think 3-2 in the finals or semifinals of a pretty big tournament.
He's been in the finals of Holy Moly repeatedly, time and time again over the past few months, and that's not an easy field these days since most of the Korean players compete in it. He had a really hot start to the year. He'd been falling off a little bit, unfortunately. Round of 16 finish in the GSL, and didn't really get all that far in IEM either, but this is an opportunity for him. Let's see what happens, and there is an opportunity for all of you guys out there today as well, courtesy of our sponsor, ShoutCraft.ting.com. Mobile that makes sense. Jeff, why don't you tell them a little bit about this tournament's ting line?
So if you guys remember last time we did ShoutCraft Kings in January, we had a ting line where you call in, essentially, with your voiceover in your program to leave a message, and that number should be up right now. You just call in there. But you're going to have to answer a question, and this, I'm actually not going to take the credit for this. This is all from the mastermind of TotalBiscuit himself. But you're going to have to answer the question, there's a Zergling in your front room, how do you get rid of it? Hilarity will ensue, but make sure to answer that question. The top 5 best responses to that question are going to win some prizes. What are the prizes, TotalBiscuit? I don't even know what they are.
Well, you can hear my dulcet tones as you compete and lose horribly on ladder, because I'm going to be giving away 5 copies of my announcer pack today to the best wins. The best lines.
Your announcer pack? I would pay $100 for your announcer pack.
I have
just
absolutely
give
no
them
doubt.
Away?
Of course we are going to do something like that. No doubt about it. It's going to be a lot of fun, no doubt. The best 5 responses will read out more than 5 during the show, of course.
Yes.
Best 5 responses will win a copy of my announce pack. Please do leave your name and your email address on the voicemail as well. And of course, to translate those voicemails, we will be relying on the ever wonderful auto-transcriptor, which is always 100% accurate.
We got it, and I need to understand, because for some people the message was very straightforward, was relatively comprehensible English, and then for other people, were they dropping out of a helicopter? Were they alternating between languages? I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be fun to interpret these messages. Interpret
is the word I would use. Everybody is ready to go, by the looks of it, and I don't really want to wait any longer. We've got a brand new map pool this time around. We've updated it to reflect the IEM map pool, and then taken out 2 of the terrible choices, leaving only the 5 good ones.
And saving the players some time, I suppose.
Indeed, and us time, and the viewers, of course, from terrible, terrible games. The countdown has now begun. Abyssal Reef GSL Edition will be the first map. Bunny versus Hero. Can our reigning king stay on the throne for more than 3 minutes and 19 seconds? Or will it be a hero at the end of the night?
I'm going to shamelessly plug your YouTube. That game is in, right? It's on your YouTube?
It is.
Yeah, you guys got to check that out. If the references aren't sinking in, if you're new to this for some reason, or if you just want a refresher, go watch it on TotalBiscuit's Starcraft channel for his YouTube. That was one of the funniest games ever, and it's too bad. I hope a lot of you can relive it too, because then TLO would like tweet out like, "Okay, that just happened." And it was just amazing, just amazing.
It was quite wonderful, honestly. I've never seen anything like it. At least let's just call it a compact game of competitive StarCraft. Welcome to Abyssal Reef. To the northwest position, the Challenger. In the red trunks, playing Protoss. The smiling assassin. From Team Root, he is Hero. Versus his opponent in the reigning king of the hill. To the southeast position. In the blue trunks, playing Terran. Dust Gaming's Bunny.
So Abyssal Reef, a bit of an interesting map. One of the first things you look at least for me, from like the Protoss perspective, is how easy can you secure your natural is a third close by, and then from there, what does the map kind of offer you? This map, as you can see on the mini-map, has a crap ton of expansions everywhere, and they're split pretty evenly, but the first 4 or even 5 bases are all fairly obtainable, so this could become a pretty large macro map if it weren't for the fact that this is also a very kind of topsy-turvy, twisty kind of map where a lot of counterattacks are possible. There's a lot of space for big drops. So it's going to be a bit of a game of cat and mouse of like, can Bunny slow down Hero, get in there, get a big Doom drop or a couple of good drops on an expansion, and really slow down Hero, because if he can't, we all know the story of a 4 or 5 base Protoss and how absolutely impossible they are to stop, basically.
Yes, the reigning line of thought, I suppose, over the last couple of months is, well, Protoss certainly can't win in this matchup. And then we watched last night's GSL, and it would seem that that is not the case at all. Honestly, the entire GSL has kind of proven that not to be the case. While online tournaments for smaller prizes have certainly shown some bias towards the Terran in the TVP matchup, it's worth bearing in mind, of course, that we've had a recent little Terran nerf, and that has had some effect, and Protoss have learned to adapt, as tends to happen when we find an imbalance like this.
Yeah, the Widowmine does a little bit less shield damage, and the Widowmine's a huge backbone part of that matchup. It just, keeps the Adept in rain. It's a very strong harass tool. But as you said, we've been seeing a kind of a resurgence of Protoss, and they're doing a little bit better. I really feel like the pack is being led by stats, and that's oftentimes how it is. When you're struggling, it's like, okay, well, what's the best idea? And stats just kind of came out and showed a mixture again of that old Protoss play, which is just very strong defense, mixed in with some kind of big timing attacks, but also a lot more Stargate play than I think people are used to. And that's why, Phoenix Adept is such a huge composition right now. We're seeing that here with that Oracle coming out, but it's almost like the TVZ from Heart of the Swarm kind of song and dance. This should be the most expected Oracle ever. I say that now looking at Bunny's base and not seeing any defense at all, but it should be, because that's just how almost every matchup opens these days.
I certainly think so. We have a Widowmine on the way, and one has to wonder exactly how effective that's going to be with the nerf. Combined with a few Marines, it should be okay.
Yeah.
But there's actually a Viking on the way out, and bearing in mind the size of this map, that Viking should just about pop out around the time this Oracle shows up.
It will, but it's the Viking. I don't even know how many shots it takes to kill it. It's something like 1,000. But this Oracle is just going to go right in the base, circumventing that Widowmine and the Marines. It does show up, gets a couple of shots at that Widowmine, which also makes it hard, because now if it tries to pop up and intercept, it could just die. But the Viking is going to be enough to keep it to just 2 kills. So all in all, not super bad. I mean, 2 kills is not at all what a Protoss is hoping for. Of course, there's more use for that Oracle, but that was not the best start so far for Hero.
No, certainly was not, and Bunny's probably counting his lucky stars there. Interesting choice from Bunny. He builds the tech lab. In fact, he builds 2 tech labs simultaneously, then moves the starport halfway across his base to go for the reactor.
Yeah.
So, I wonder... Oh, and here we go again. Where is that Viking? Not where it needs to be. You see, the Widowmine went off and didn't quite kill that Phoenix, but the Viking interception on the way out. The Oracle does less damage than it certainly could have in that situation. It grabs 3 SCVs, delays some mining time, but that could have been a hell of a lot worse.
It absolutely could have been a hell of a lot worse. It's going to get 1 kill on its way out of here, but it seems like that Viking was the smart choice. As you said, does pick off that Phoenix, which actually is a pretty big deal, because behind this there are more Phoenix coming out. Now, a single Phoenix doesn't, of course, transform that composition at all, but it does delay its ability to be effective. One thing to kind of mention here, though, is that all the while this is going on, that third does happen for the Protoss very early. Went down at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And there's no way for an answer from Bunny. Bunny is just now starting Stim with Phoenix out there. He's not going to feel comfortable harassing. So, again, kind of answering that question of why are Protoss getting stronger in this matchup right now? Look at this setup. At what point could Bunny have done anything better but still end up behind, I think? That's kind of one of the things we're looking at here.
Would have been extremely difficult, honestly. I mean, we'd have to look at one of the early sort of Wings of Liberty style early stim pushes, maybe to catch the Protoss off guard. But the reality is, with the Mothership Core and with the strength of Pylon Overcharge, that's such a dicey prospect. And of course, if it doesn't work, you're way far behind.
Yeah, I think that's the backbone of the defense, but I think it's made complicated by even, like, the Phoenix. So if you go out and drop, and you're like, okay, well, if I get a couple of Widow Mines in that mineral line, then I'm going to be in a great spot. Well, the Phoenix will probably just pick it up, and there's something there to kill that Widow Mine. And now all of a sudden you're down to Medevac and Widow Mines, and you have even less of a chance to try and harass. So it's just a bit of a dicey spot right now, but here comes that composition we were talking about, which is going to be Phoenix Adept. And one of the things we are seeing Terrans kind of evolve in the direction of is learning how to deal with that. And some of the ideas have been like mass Widow Mines or a gigantic 2-base push. We're not really seeing either of those out of Bunny right now. It's going to be a faster 3rd CC. He is going to move out with Marines, which is an okay choice. But there's going to be so many Adepts that I feel like this is going to be rough for our Terran player. I don't know why he's trying this.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if this really gets anything done. The Oracle manages to land yet another revelation on the Marines, and they're gonna have to pull back.
Yeah, they're pulling. I wonder if it was a feint. I wonder if he pushed out to kind of be like, all right,
may very well be right.
Prepare yourself, but it's nothing. And here comes the influx of production behind that. I'm still kind of waiting for what is the X factor from him. Like, it's so far going to be some tanks coming out. That's okay, but again, a little bit dicey with those Phoenix out there that can pick up the tanks in the heat of the big battle. A lot of times it's Widow Mines. Yes, they did take a nerf, but a cluster of Widow Mines against Adepts is still a good softening core. We're not seeing anything but Marine tank right now, and it looks like he might just turtle up.
Yep, we've got turrets coming down, and he's going to need quite a few of those. The 6 Phoenix, air superiority firmly in the hands of Hero right here, and they are escorting a Warp Prism filled with deadly resonating glaive adepts that will make short work of that mineral line.
Yeah, or the production line. It's either one, but he's going to kind of pull up here. The Phoenix are going to distract. There is still a missile turret there, and thank goodness there is. Good response from Bunny, though, I have to say. Like, again, if that Warp Prism gets in there and is able to warp in several rounds of Adepts, that's going to be lights out, but he was able to snap over and respond, and it looked like, wow, Hero's actually doing a double Warp Prism tactic.
That's
right
Hero
now.
in a nutshell, isn't it? We remember so long ago that Hero had some antics with the Warp Prism. I am very interested to see what kind of damage he can do with that.
Yep. You know what, TotalBiscuit? I normally would be too, but look at Bunny's base, man. There's actually a Widow Mine, there's a missile turret on that back line, there's Marines already there.
This looks almost impenetrable for drop play.
Yes. Heroes on the outside sharking around, much like that Space Shark shadow you can see on this map sometimes. And now both the War Prisms are together. This might be one of the first actual, like, absolute top-level double War... I mean, it's not, guys. I know it's happened before, but you don't see it very often, I guess is the point I'm trying to make here. It's not going to work. He's got to disengage.
Yeah, I would say so. That's not really going to do the job. There's too much on the ground. There's too much at stake. That is a very costly loss. These Phoenixes taking some costly losses as well after being baited into a Widow Mine. Did you notice that little move? Bunny, knowing he was going to lose that Medivac, drew the Phoenixes into the Widow Mine to make sure they take some severe shield damage. Redeployment here from Bunny, and a big pickup. We got a Doom Drop on the way, which actually avoids the vision of Hero.
For a second, I think these Phoenix might have seen it. What a weird choice, though. He, like, does nothing. There's been 0 attempts to move out. There's one fake kind of feint. And then he just randomly loads up 3 Medivacs and is like, I'm going to try it. But I think he doesn't feel confident with the Phoenix still out there. That would be the right choice.
Yeah.
I do have to say, though, I mean, this is one of the ways we're seeing Terran start to kind of address this. Protoss and 4-base, not ideal for Terran, but with this map, look how reliably Bunny can mass up and defend and push out with a maxed army. And this is like going to be our first real altercation.
Yep, and Hero's taking some pretty severe damage on those Phoenixes. I'm surprised he didn't pull them back quicker than he did. He loses an extra one on top of that, and Bunny's going to be very happy about that. I don't think he's going to be so happy about the 4 Colossi that are heading in his general direction, however, and they attempt to do some damage, but are confronted by a wall of tanks. In the meantime, we have that adept drop. Somehow Hero found a gap in the defenses, and he's just taken a mineral line out. A Thor tries to stand tall, but there's also Zealots in the mix as well, so that Thor will eventually fall.
Well, Bunny was actually max going into this. That was the worst. A lot of things actually just died right there, but they're relatively useless at this point in time.
He's gonna have to go.
Yeah, it's a big fight right now. Force's gonna go down and kind of keep the bio in the back lines. The Colossus is pushing forward. There's not a lot of anti-air here. It's really just the tanks as a way of answering to these Colossus. But meanwhile, TotalBiscuit, there's a huge warping going on inside the main base too.
Yeah, the main base is an absolute mess, and I think it's all or nothing here for Bunny at the moment. He wants to try and crack the defenses because I'm not sure he really has any other options. Production's getting camped at the moment, but there is a squadron of Colossi proving to be extremely difficult to crack. He's going for it, though. He stims around the flank, trying to get the Colossi. It's not going to be enough with that squad of Marines. There are still a few tanks at the back, but they're now not contributing to the fight. Both sides taking huge losses here, but I think Bunny came off worse, and this is looking dire.
Yeah, Bunny is just not able to replenish. His production line is just being attacked over and over again by Warpins. There is the GG. Hero able to clamp down on the throat of Bunny and tear it out there. Just holding on for long, and it's really funny. I'm not sure if you saw it on your screen, but it was double Warp Prism sneaking in through the back. The first one actually died. If it was just a single Warp Prism, that attack never actually would have gone away. But because it was double Warp Prism, it got in there and was able to start warping in on a maxed out Terran in its soft underbelly, and that's all she wrote.
Indeed. Well, we speculated whether or not Bunny would be able to hold on to the throne. The answer, of course, was no. A top-quality Protoss takes over pretty much immediately here. Not an unpredictable result. It was unfortunate that Bunny's defense sort of finally fell to pieces there because he was looking good up until that point, and then that drop into the base forced them into an all-or-nothing situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be kicking himself quite a bit there because it literally was the difference of like a single missile turret. He had 3, very much so for that very idea of like, okay, if you try to sneak in through this area, a Warp Prism won't make it. But he wasn't able to answer the question of what if 2 Warp Prisms come in that direction, and he needed 1 more missile turret to shut that down. And that's one of the really hard things, like, a Protoss can instantly replenish through a Warp Prism and can just drop units directly on that spot, whereas a Terran has to produce them. And if they max out, they're only producing them after they start to lose guys. And this drop started to happen when that Terran was midway through the map, so he wasn't losing things just yet. And it was just a leaky ship just falling down in the ocean. Like, there was nothing he could do at that point in time.
Yeah, he was very, very dead. There's no doubt about that. And Hero ascends to the throne. We'll see whether or not he'll be able to hold on to it. We have a very balanced roster today on ShoutCraft Kings. One of the best we've ever had. I say that pretty much every month, but I'm certainly not lying. Yeah. We have a great selection of players. We've already had some announcements of the players. Of course, we have both Ryong and Stats in the tournament today after their epic encounter last night in the GSL Round of 4.
Very good. Sorry, I'm loading up this message, so I wish I had something more witty to say, but I'm trying to read through these right now.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. I wonder if they will clash. It may very well happen, but their group is stacked. Every group is stacked today. We're going to have some great games. Started off pretty well there. It's unfortunate that Bunny was not able to defend against that absolutely devastating drop. However, Hero will take advantage of that, and Hero will no doubt be a wonderful king. His subjects will be happy. We know he is a fair and generous god, as we have seen in the past. The question is, just how well will he do against our next player? I'm going to be switching over to the North American server for this matchup. So I'm going to shake it up pretty quickly. Usually we have an awful lot of Koreans in the first few groups, and we certainly do this time as well, but I wanted to spice things up a little bit.
I like spice.
Indeed. Our player is now in the lobby, so we can unveil Hero's opponent. This should be a very enjoyable match indeed. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to unveil who will challenge for the throne This man, of course, a very popular player indeed. One of the best foreign Zerg in the world, has been for many years. The one and only Liquid Snoot.
The overly humble Liquid Snoot.
True enough.
I've heard some nasty things about his ZVP right now, so... And I say that as someone that has not been watching some of his most recent games, so I'm actually... I have the best seat in the house for this. I'm very excited.
It's gonna be good. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And they're both ready to go. Let's not delay. Cactus Valley will be our venue today for the encounter between Root Hero and Liquid Snoot. I still haven't got used to that whole Root Hero thing.
No, that's why I almost questioningly was like, Smiling Assassin? Because I know the other heroes out there playing too, and not for Team Liquid, but the Big O, man. That's how you know, the Big O.
It'll be good, one way or the other. I have no doubt about that. Alright. Here we are in Cactus Valley. And we're ready to rock and roll. Spawning in the northwest position. In the red trunks, he is the challenger. Playing Zerg for Team Liquid, it's Snoot. Versus his opponent, the reigning king of the hill, to the northeast position in the blue trunks, playing Protoss, having dispatched with our previous king in short fashion. He is Root Hero.
Cactus Valley, one of the largest maps you'll see in any map pool pretty much ever. Again, a fairly okay map from the Protoss perspective in the sense that you can take the first 3 bases, but where Zergs are going to be more happy is it's otherwise a very large, wide open space. Each of the bases offers multiple entry points and kind of good concave angles, so if you can get that large mass of units like your Roach Ravager Ling, or like Ling Baneling Ravager, or Hydra stuff, which Snoot is extremely fond of, you have good options for encounters and you know, attacking bases, which some maps don't offer. Sometimes it gets really confined. I think look no further than even like Abyssal Reef, like we just saw. It's actually very hard to attack those bases, but here, not so much the case. This is the attacker's dream.
I would absolutely agree with that, and I have to wonder which side it favors. Snoot, known perhaps over the past few years for being a less aggressive than normal Zerg, certainly not the kind of guy that will usually get in your face early.
Yeah, that's definitely been true. There's been almost... I don't even want to call it a resurgence because it's been to mixed results, but Snoot has been experimenting much more with aggression, and I would say he still is probably most comfortable in like the mega defensive style, but you'll see a lot more of not waiting for the mega army of like Snoot of old, and more of the like, well, I'm close to maxed out, I'm on 5 bases, I've done a good job keeping you slowed down on 3 bases or so, and now we're going to fight with me being advantaged. That seems to be a little bit more of his kind of MO. But we're seeing standard opening here. It is just speed. He's not still mining gas, so there's not going to be, at least for right now, some of that like Ling drop shenanigans or early tech stuff. Because again, I want to remind, this is a map that like Zerg should feel pretty comfortable going into the mid and late game. It's very hard to SimCity in your 3rd base as a Protoss. If you look at kind of the 2-3 base options, your SimCity is like to defend a cannon or 2. You don't get to lock this whole base up against a side or something like that. That would be like a 35 building wall off or something like that. It's just not going to happen.
No, I don't really think so. And Snoot makes his way in. Confirms where his opponent is. Confirms that everything seems to be relatively ordinary. However, we do have the Dark Shrine on the way up with the Robo Facility, and usually that would be an ooh. At least it would have been, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, but now it's a, yes, he may very well be considering an Archon drop.
He absolutely will. I mean, there's been like the little bit of flavor where they drop the 4 DTs at first to kind of be like, hey, is there any chance you want to spot me a couple $100 inside of 5 minutes here? No? Okay, I guess we'll do the Archon thing. Because despite this being the most absolutely standard opening Protoss have at their disposal right now, especially as far as Koreans go, they do this 8 times out of 10, maybe 9. There's still Zergs who are like, you know what? I'm going to skimp on detection just a little bit, and, oh, he is doing that thing, I die. Okay.
Yeah, it's worth a shot, because let's be honest, there's really no downside to trying the DTs initially, unless something awful happens and you somehow lose the prism with them inside immediately, which is unlikely, considering the speed of the prism and the way that this matchup is set up. You're hardly going to run into a flock of Mutalisks at this stage of the game, so there's not a lot of risk involved in it, and as you said, it does give you the opportunity, maybe you kill a queen with a little assassination hit squad of DTs, and that kind of makes it worthwhile, and then in you come with your Archons. However, those two queens from Snoot are immediately... Oh, there's that queen going down pretty much immediately. Yeah, but unfortunately, there's the surrounder, but there's the hot pickup and go. The Warp Prism taking more damage, I think, though, than Hero would have liked.
I think that's the very subtle exchange there. Like, we saw an actual dead queen, as you predicted, so we can kind of in real time be like, well, that's good, right? Well, kind of. The Warp Prism being at half health already means that the real purpose of this drop, which we're seeing right now with this drop, is on borrowed time. But a second queen does go down here. Snoot being a little bit sloppy there.
Warp Prism.
Second Warp Prism.
Wow, okay, we're going to really surprise Snoot with that, I think, honestly. We have the two-pronged attack and DTs, and of course, well, there is detection, but there's not a lot of defense here. Most of the defense committed to the main, understandably so, and Hero is going to be playing some crazy games here. We are seeing double Warp Prism Micro coming in here from our Protoss.
Your play, Observer. Good luck.
I've got it. Don't worry. I've got this. I have trained for this moment my entire life, Master.
I've been waiting. Really good play here from Hero. Just kind of going back and forth, but to be honest, let's give credit where credit's due. Yeah, Snoot's taken a little bit of damage, a couple of queens maybe sloppily going down. But otherwise, if you look, he's actually ahead in drones already. There is no third base for the Protoss, which is our beginnings of what this is, by the way. There's two ways to take this kind of opening. You either do it to get a fast third, or you do it to get a timing attack going. And Snoot spotting those zealots, he knows what's coming now. He has to.
Oh, yeah. Hero is not going to mess around. He is going to go for either an early victory or just a ton of damage. He's going to get damage done. There's no doubt about that. There's not really all that much going on for the Zerg at the moment. We've got 11 Roaches and a Ravager, plus a couple of Queens, and this is a lot of Archons.
He's going to get trucked. I mean, that's 5 Archons, and he can juggle with the Warp Prisms, actually, so I hope you've prepared yourself for the next level of observing. But here it comes. There's just nothing popping out. A couple of Roaches, a couple of Lings. It's just... The Protoss isn't even that far ahead in supply, but he just has that much bigger of an army. He's running over that contingent.
Yeah, the army was even split up as well, which makes it all the worse. Snoot was not able to even get his reinforcements there in time before that squadron was obliterated. I'm not sure if Hero's lost a unit yet. Warp Prism finally falls, but of course there's a second Warp Prism, and that's going to be a very useful backup. I don't even think he's necessarily going to need it. The Zerg army count is rapidly rising, but we just have a massive amount of Archons here. This is going to be difficult. The third's going down at the bare minimum. That's assuming that Snoot doesn't lose right now.
I mean, yeah, Snoot's just trying to buy some time here to get some units, but there's like 8 Lings and 4 Roaches on the menu to come out. Go ahead, bring it out right now. It still won't be enough. It's going to be more wood to the fire, basically. And here comes the Protoss just cramming itself into that natural. It's going to be costly, but the whole game's on the line. He's fine with it. He wins this one easily.
And that's going to be it. GG. Hero has no intention whatsoever of relinquishing his crown quickly in this tournament. No way. And a swift victory for the Smiling Assassin, earning his name, I think, in that matchup. A brutal, clean cut. Wasn't messing around with that execution whatsoever.
No, and I'll tell you what. It's been so far, we'll see if this is the theme, but at least for the first 2 games for me, it kind of is. It's been subtlety. So, like, this is one of the most standard openings, or is it? The second Warp Prism, the 4 Dark Templar, that's an evolution that we haven't seen that much of, if any at all. I personally haven't seen it, but I just assume it's obviously been done because otherwise I'll get yelled at. But leading into a 2-base timing attack, that too, very common, not surprising, but Snoot wasn't able to really be on top of that because he was holding on for dear life. 4 Dark Templar, if not taken seriously and handled really well, can end a game by themselves, obviously. So can 2 Archons. So it was all Snoot could do to basically address what was happening to him. When all of a sudden this timing attack happens, which he's faced before, but when it's a single drop of 2 Archons, you can scout that out much earlier and be like, okay, here's the follow-up. By the time Snoot knew this was coming, it was too late.
Do you think that that was a planned timing attack from the very start of the game, or was that a sort of more on-the-fly reaction to what had happened with his first drop and his kind of assessment of Snoot's defenses?
I think it was, and if I had to guess, I'm guessing it's because they were top left, top right. The Protoss usually feel like they're the ones that need to attack and end the game early, because if that goes on, it's very hard to hold off a mid-game heavy Zerg attack. But as we saw, it also favors that fast Warp Prism harass, because that's hitting faster. And then your follow-up timing attack, that's also coming faster. So I feel like it's an assessment of where they spawn for Hero, if I had to guess.
Well, it worked one way or the other. That was pretty much impeccable from Hero. He barely lost a unit, even just leaving a couple of Zealots back to make sure the third base went down as the rest of his army barreled into the natural. Unnecessary, really, but who knows? Maybe there were 30 Banelings being hidden somewhere in the corner. You know, you can never be too careful. Mark of a true professional there to never count his chickens before the Banelings hatch. And a clean victory for Hero. Looking good. That was very, very quick. And I mean, that's easy money. That was like $100 a minute at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, you be careful. I thought you were reading my translated messages here. That's my job, man. I'm gonna protect that with my life. You were saying something about Banelings and bedrooms or something. I can't remember. It's all just a blur. Do you want me to read some of these messages, by the way?
Hey, absolutely. Call into the Ting line, folks, for your chance to win a copy of my announcer pack and leave a amusing response to the following question. There's a Zergling in your living room. How do you get rid of it? Call the Ting line. The number is on the screen right now. If you happen to be one of our international listeners, well, I take no responsibility whatsoever for international call costs. Maybe you might want to use Skype credit for that instead of calling from your mobile phone. 1-8886-CHEESE is the number. That's 1-8886-CHEESE. And our wonderful auto-transcriptor will no doubt get every message 100% accurate. Jeff, what you got for us?
Absolutely. This first one comes in from Michigan. It is an unknown caller, and it's a mostly straightforward response. He says, "Why would I want to get rid of that? They're going, I would keep it as a pet. I mean, seriously though. They're durable, they're well. I mean to have other issues, but they're adorable, at least I think sometimes."
I mean, that's a fairly friendly response. Not a bad little transcription, honestly. I wonder if our AI has evolved since a couple of months ago. It's possible. You know, actually, I'd be quite disappointed if it had.
Me too. But if you listen carefully, if it has evolved, it still isn't quite getting it very well. This next one is a person, again, another unknown caller. Make sure and leave your name, guys, so that if you do win, we can
if you want a chance of winning, we don't mind you entering anonymously, that's fine, but if you want a chance to win one of the 5 announce packs, do please leave your name and email address.
Yes. This person says hello, so thank you. I think that is an interesting way to handle the question of if you had a Zergling in your front room. Just say hello.
So, yeah, I mean, you could. I don't know what the response would be, but it's worth attempting to initiate first contact, right?
Yeah. This one is from James. He said he's from New York. They say, "There's blank going outside my room. I wouldn't even know about it because I'm not leaving my room because it's ShoutCraft Kings." Well,
yes, absolutely.
played.
There you go. We do love a little bit of shameless ego massage here on this show, so by all means do feel free. Compliments
Pile it on.
absolutely do work. No doubt about it. You know what else works? Another great game of StarCraft 2, Jeff.
Damn fine. Damn fine.
You know what else works right now? Battle.net at the moment, which I'm very glad of, because it didn't earlier this week. So I'm glad they fixed that. Hero would like some more money, please. However, there is a man standing in his way. I wasn't kidding when I said we've got some awesome players from all over the place. We've got some fan favorites. We have some online monsters. We have GSL semi-finalists, IEM semi-finalists. We've got all sorts of players today. But this one, well, He's the one and only True.
Mr. Online himself. This guy's in
Indeed.
everything. It's really funny because it sometimes it feels like you are watching him in a tournament, but then also hit him on the ladder. He's just everywhere at all times, playing lots and lots of games and grinding out true old StarCraft style. And I didn't even mean to make that pun. I feel terrible now.
I wasn't even going to point to it because I think people expect it at this point. It's just part of the show.
Yeah. Bad jokes, and some good ones mixed in there. They'll happen.
You can't appreciate the good without the bad.
You can't. You really can't. You need that poo on the wall to know that the rest of the hotel room is probably quality stuff. That's how I gauge it anyways.
Well, I mean, having had several years of experience staying in the hotels that StarCraft tournaments have booked and budgeted for, I can safely say that your assessment is closer to the truth that I would like. Speaking of close to the truth, our challenger to the southwest position.
Oh, God.
It was so good, though. To the southwest position. Currently staying in America in the Psystorm Gaming house. In the blue trunks. 4-team Psystorm Gaming playing Zerg. It's true. It's damn true. Versus his opponent, the reigning king of the hill. He's looking to break 4 figures in about 10 minutes. Not a bad payment, really. And who said StarCraft wasn't a viable career path? Get it? Career path? Yes, it's so good. Just accept it, right? Take it.
Path.
Yeah.
It's too early, John.
Korea with a K, South Korea path, career path, but also, yep. Anyway, northeast position, red trunks, Protoss, Root, Hero, King, Death, right?
Yes.
Did I spell it out for you?
Is that I agree with.
That okay for earlier in the morning?
I mean, Hero is on top of his game, or he is just his typical crazy self. It's probably a bit of both, because we're seeing a double gateway opening against 3 hatch before pool.
Oh my.
This map is deceivingly large in the sense that it's otherwise a medium-sized map, but the path you have to take to get from one ramp to the other has you walking quite a distance, because it's not that big. I don't want to make it sound that way, but it's bigger than you would think. That being said, he is going to expand behind this, so maybe it is a more defensive opening than I thought. Well, he'll get a couple of depths out, and they will be a nuisance. But with the gas follow-up in the spawning pool and several queens probably going to come out here, it's going to be a little bit of that question of, like, how well can the Zerg hold this off? Because we kind of saw that Oracle in Game 1, obviously a different matchup, but it didn't get a lot done. But what it did do was keep its opponent pinned back. With this kind of delayed tech opening from True, because he's leveraging expanding so fast here, is he going to be held back by these Adepts, and is it going to be a really fast third to follow that up? Because if so, that could be a huge concern for a Zerg player.
We've already got 6 Zerglings on the way, of course. 8 Zerglings, in fact, and an evacuation of the third base. True playing very, very cautiously here, knowing that he took a little bit of a gamble on that 3 hatch before pool, and with a relatively short rush distance, Payne is about to land on his third base sooner rather than later. I am a little concerned about the livelihood of this queen that's coming out, but with a decent gathering of lings and the backup of those couple of queens, we can certainly push that back. There's only 3 adepts being made at the moment. There's no follow-up. Yeah. The Twilight Council is the next tech option. He's not continuing to pump out adepts.
He's gonna get, well, he should have gotten surrounded there, but I guess the Zerglings are just kind of fiending for getting there fast enough. As you said, evacuating off that third base has been smart so far. Trying to mine from that would have been a fool's errand, but again, Hero just maximizing potential. These 2 adepts get away scot-free. Did they get a huge amount of damage in? No, if you look, they only have 5 kills. I think 1 drone and 4 lings is the number there. And with a 3 hatch before pool opening, you got to be pretty happy if you're True. You've got the makings here for a good opening. Speed about to finish. He just then also needs to gauge what's going on, and that's why there's double Overlord on the half of the Protoss base, trying to figure out what they're facing right now. And it's going to be a little bit confusing, because so far he's not seeing anything, because the tech is on that left side, which I think he'll make his way over to eventually here. Yeah,
that's assuming he can make his way over there and maybe, like, risk that Overlord, not knowing, of course, if there's a Stalker on the ground, and there's about to be, but that will get spotted, and no, in fact, it will not. He turns away just at the wrong time. Kind of a surprise. I think he thinks he can save the Overlord. He's wrong. He can't. It will die. He seems to have misjudged that somewhat, and as a result, he does not know about that pretty quick resonating glaive, which is going to be a nice upgrade indeed against this large swell of Zerglings, but you do need a lot of adepts to deal with that many Zerglings. So there's 20 more on the way, a massive groundswell of them here from True.
This is kind of classic True, by the way. Like, this is... Look at the production, and he's not doing anything else.
No, he's not.
The pedal to the metal, so to speak, and is just going to be producing Zerglings to the win. This third base is really hard to hold. He's going to need more on this, though. These are Resonating Glaive Adepts, as you said. Well, there it is. That's the number you need. He's going to get a good chunk of the Adepts killed right here.
That he is. This is really good, I think, for True, honestly. We see 4 Adepts remaining, and they're all pretty badly injured. They're all going to get cleaned up with bare minimum damage done.
This is True, though. True will just throw you for a loop. Like, I thought it was going to be nothing but Lings, and don't get me wrong, he is approaching, like, 100 Ling production here, but there's the drones behind it, wisely so, because if you look at that third base of the Protoss, none shall pass. You're not getting through that with Lings.
Sentries on the way, and a mostly complete wall-off. I just like the fact that as soon as that Adept attack happened, True basically started his 4th.
Yeah.
He's got a very late lair relative to most Zerg plays. You look and say, well, 5 minutes 45, that's not a late lair. Well, I don't know. I mean, in Heart of the Swarm, it would have been pretty quick, but in Legacy of the Void, that's relatively late. But I like the fact that he realized, all right, I'm going to be able to shut this Adept attack down with bare minimum. Let's take that 4th. That's going to let me get my drone production going incredibly quick. That's going to let me make up for a little bit of lost time and become a macro powerhouse going forward.
I like, too, that he's spending his time opening up some of these pathways. They actually make a huge difference. The 4th base for the Protoss can be that gold, or it can be the 4th base kind of alongside the ridge of the map on the right side. But the Zerg's going to want to have avenues of attack towards those bases, and that's what he's opening up for himself right now. The kind of scary thing for Hero is if he doesn't get up off his horse here pretty soon, which it looks like he's about to do, he's got 4 more gateways being added as well as a Warp Prism, the map can get out of hand pretty quickly. When a Zerg opens up 3 hatch before pool, even after producing all those Lings, it doesn't take much to also then produce 20 drones and have a roaring economy.
Here's some interesting little setup from Hero. We see Zealot Leg upgrade and Templar Archive. So this leans towards the classic Chargelet Archon build, which that's a little bit old school. Have you seen a resurgence of that as of late?
Yeah, and I think also a lot of that is just stylistic to who he's facing. True's really known for his kind of Ling playstyle. So one of the better responses for that is going to be Chargelet Archon. This hatchery is going to go down pretty quick. These Zealots don't even have an attack upgrade. It's just enough of them on a naked hatch. And you'll notice, Hero was never even thinking about another warp-in. Very calculated, because one of the big mistakes that Protoss can make is with an attack like that, over-warping in.
Yeah.
And doing the same job with more that you could do with less. And that's like the little things you'll see Hero do that you're just like, God, this guy is really smooth, crisp, and on point. It's really a joy to watch.
Now, I was wondering if we're going to be seeing this from True, and it looks like we will. We're actually going to be seeing Tunneling Roaches as a build. We'd already seen the +1 missile upgrade, and Burrow had started very early. I was thinking, are we going to see Tunneling Claws? It looks like we will. What do you think about that versus the setup that we've got from Hero here, which, again, is Chargelet Archon?
It's okay. He saw the sentries earlier, so maybe that's what's kind of triggered this, but for the most part, against the army composition you just asked about, the Protoss wants to be in your face. Not any of that is long range, so, like, go ahead, tunnel underneath, come at my Archons. That way they can hit you a little bit harder in the teeth, I suppose. But these 2 ships are passing in the night. Obviously, Crew is going to get the message right here, but the Lings should be with the Roaches, and they're not going to have much in the way of a purpose coming in the flank, because that's where the Zealots and Archons are, but we're going to have that engagement anyways right now.
Yep, he's getting the surround on the back. He manages to catch one of those Archons off guard, but there's plenty more where that came from. Tunneling Claws is not quite done yet, and that is an important upgrade because it gives that critical hit point regeneration to True. But there are a lot of Roaches. Are there going to be enough? I'm liking the concave so far from True. He's able to avoid a lot of that AoE damage. Yes. Tunneling Claws now just kicked in, yo, and that's going to give him great pursuit potential, and Hero's actually sent running for the hills, running for his life.
Yes, Hero unfortunately did not engage very well there. The force fields ended up acting against him.
They did.
One of the things you have to worry about with those charge lots, if you're casting force fields blocking off roaches but attacking with your zealots anyways, then thank you very much. Oh, massive warp inside the main. He's gonna stick with it using the warp prism to keep the immortals alive. And the zealots are gonna have a nice little counterattack here, and all of a sudden True, who thought he was gonna march across the map and get an attack of his own, is all of a sudden once again in great peril.
Oh, the +2 weapons upgrade is almost down. Hero would be.
He did.
Oh, he gets it. There we go. I was worried that he might not, but that's a really key pickup considering the composition. That was almost done. That's an upgrade. It's going to take a lot of work to get done, and this is a extremely difficult drop to deal with. As you can see, damage is being done, and it forced True to pull all the way back as well.
A lot of zealots have died, but behind this, it's double Robo Immortal, and it's not like we see True changing right now. There's no Spire about to finish. There's no Hydralisk Den. It is just roaches. So while a lot of zealots are dying in this base, you'll notice again, Hero's doing things like focusing down drones, getting that +2 attack upgrade, like you said. So ending the game, no, but weakening True, yes. And with these Immortals amassing, and Archons again, all this time being bought, I don't know how he did it. It took him all of like 7 seconds, but I went from going, well, Hero's super dead, to, okay, Hero won.
It was a really great counterattack. There was a bunch of burrowing roaches barreling towards his third, and suddenly the counterattack. Offense is the best defense, and that has really put True on the ropes. He's taken a lot of body blows at the moment. His economy's getting hit. More Ravagers being added in by True. Pretty smart move, trying to maybe catch that Warp Prism if he can with a lucky shot. But that isn't going to happen, and this constant harassment is preventing True from getting that big army together, and of course it's allowing the Protoss to tech and saturate the fourth.
Yeah, and while that's going on, a DT drop's going to come in here, because why
Nasty.
not? Immediately targeting the hatchery. That's the nice thing, though, about these Ravagers. They do have the ability to at least zone them out or possibly kill them, but it's not going to be enough. The hatchery does drop, and we go from seeing strategic and surgical kind of precision out of the attack to an outright cleave of the economy. And as you said, the Protoss been sitting on a fourth base this whole time. That fourth base went down whilst the Protoss losing his entire army, and yet here we are, Hero, down in supply a little bit, but in my opinion, way up in army composition. The number of Immortals, we just hit 9.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 10. It's going to be gross. They destroy roaches.
Yeah. I mean, he's posturing right now, but +2 attack isn't even done, and +3 is about to kick in for Protoss, and Blink's about to be done as well. Good luck burrow microing against 9 Immortals. That is not something that happens very often whatsoever.
Yeah.
Hero known as a huge Evanescence fan.
Oh, God. Hero pulled back at first, and I'm like, what are you seeing that I'm not? Why? I mean,
a little bit of Ling harass,
you don't have to
I
do
guess,
that.
but there's 2 cannons. He's fine. Here we go. That's not gonna work, I don't think. I mean, it was a nice little pick off of a building, but he needs to get out of there. I'm actually surprised he's not burrowing yet. It's almost like he's forgotten that he has that. That would give him a nice little boost to get out of there quickly, but it would leave the Ravagers exposed, so maybe that's why. Trying to pull back into a more defensive position.
Now here's the development. We see the Spire about to finish, by the way.
Yeah, he's
as I say that, though, he actually just almost remaxes.
Oh, God, he's trapped. He's trapped in the middle here. There is a lot of money for True. He can throw a lot of money at an army right now, and he's going to have to because he just lost it. I mean, Hero just crushed that mercilessly within about 5 seconds. I don't think a remax is going to help at all here.
No, well, TotalBiscuit, we just saw one of our first gigantic blunders from these level of players. I mean, look at the money. So there's 12 more metas that could have been made, but he just used up all his larva on mostly Zerglings. Yes, he wants to counterattack, and I understand the desperation, but he basically held out for a single large play and did not get it off. These Lings are going to get in the base, but there's still some supply for the Protoss to work with, and he's warping in things. I mean, it's going to be a base trade, but there's so many Stalkers out here.
Yeah, he's got the mobility, he has the anti-air. They're +3 Stalkers versus unupgraded Mutalisks. That's going to be a bloodbath. And as we can see, Hero has no intention of allowing this game to go on any longer.
Not even a base trade.
No, I wouldn't call this a base trade per se. This is more of a scam, really. He's being conned. He's trading 1 base for 4. believing that it's prime real estate. He's not going to get out of this. You know, this is a subprime mortgage crisis here for the Zerg. It's absolutely terrible. Hero's gonna walk away with it by the looks of it. This Mutalisk flock is not having a good time, even against such a small number of Blink Stalkers. They're taking a lot of damage.
No, there's a couple more going to be added to it. I mean, to be fair, even if this was a 30 Muta flock, still the same result. So yeah, It was a big blunder, but it's not like it would have changed anything. Drew's going to hold on to that base because he's true. He's got the heart of a lion, but this is a Hero's game in the bag. And again, this is very memorable to me as a game of like, how did you do that? I mean, it was just that split-second decision, rather than to pull back and defend, to attack, to go for the throat, believing I am pretty much convinced that what I can throw at your base is more than what you have in defense, right? Yep, you're exactly right. I mean, even specifically, the 2 Immortals in a Warp Prism was just like, hey, if you counterattack, I'm probably in a lot of trouble, especially with those Zealot Warpins, because again, I need to remind people, it's not like he was pulling back to 6 Immortals back at home. He literally lost everything in a very bad engagement. It was just like an Archon and 2 or 3 Immortals and a Sentry making its way back home. Loads up the 2 Immortals and changes the game. True, thinking he's got the upper hand like the rest of us, is halfway across the map when he's like, hang on, that's like 20 Zealots in my main. I have to take this serious and go back and deal with that because I'm so far ahead that I don't need to all in right now. Lo and behold, he was just thrown out from his lead, if there ever was one, by that single move, and Hero just continues to impress. And now with a 3-game streak, he's one away from crushing the results of January. Well, not crushing, but tying the results of January as being one of the most successful players in ShoutCraft Kings last couple months.
Damn right. I said we have alternating months of guy wins a map and then dies, guy wins a map and then dies, and then streak, streak, streak. And it looks like Hero is going to be the one to start setting that record. Hero has now won, doing my mental arithmetic here, yep, over $1,000 in just under an hour. Not bad at all.
No. Pretty darn good if I do say so myself.
I could not agree more with that one. I'm very much looking forward to his next opponent. He is so far cleaving his way through Zerg. I would say that was not an easy win for him. As you pointed out, there were several moments in that game where True could have very easily prosecuted a huge advantage and done significant damage. The first engagement for for Hero was nothing short of disastrous, really.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I'm once again distracted by these messages. They are ruining my brain, TotalBiscuit. But, on the other hand, when I'm not looking at the messages, I'm a halfway decent commentator. Hard to do that.
I know this. You've cast with us enough to earn that right, I believe.
Okay.
We're going to be taking a short break, folks, as we set up our next opponent. When we come back, Hero, with more than $1,000 in his war chest, looks to take just a few dollars more. We'll be right back after the break, folks. A word from our sponsor, if you don't mind, and I'm sure you do not, because of course our wonderful sponsor is shoutcraft.ting.com. If you use that link, you get $25 off your purchase. Go and check them out. They are mobile that makes sense, and I'm going to let you hear just a little bit about why right now.
Ting offers service on 2 nationwide networks. We're not going to delve too deeply into the technology of it all, but there are a few things to bear in mind when choosing. Ting service is offered on a CDMA network and a GSM network too. Which network is the right choice for you comes down to a few factors. First, your phone. Not all phones are compatible with all networks. If a phone was made to work on one carrier's network, it may not work on another carrier's network. We don't expect you to know all this stuff. That's why we created the Ting Compatibility Checker. Just go to ting.com/BYOD. Follow the instructions there, and we'll tell you which network or networks your phone supports. It's also important to consider what network speed your phone can operate at. The network technologies your phone supports are a major factor in the experience you'll have. For instance, many new smartphones are 4G LTE capable. 4G LTE means you'll get the fastest data speeds when your phone is in an LTE area. An older phone, one that you might be bringing to Ting, may only be able to use the 3G network. The The good news? Your phone will work on Ting. The bad? You won't get the same great experience that you would on LTE. The second big factor in which network you should choose is where you live. If your phone doesn't have a specific preference, you can choose which network you'd like to use. Network coverage varies from area to area. Densely populated places, like major cities, tend to have better service. They typically get a good signal strength and great LTE data speeds. In rural areas, coverage can be more spread out, and the faster LTE network may not be available. When choosing a network, consider word of mouth. If people say they have great Sprint coverage where you are, you'll choose the Sprint CDMA network on Ting. If people say they have great T-Mobile coverage, you'll have a good experience with Ting on a GSM network too. You can also use the coverage checker at ting.com/coverage to find the answers you seek. Simply input your address and take a look at which network offers you the best coverage. Finally, if you just can't decide which network is best for you, there's always a coin flip.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings March. I want to get right into this. The next challenger. Well, we've tried 2 Zerg. It didn't really work out. I want to see if we've got a third time lucky here before I stop causing this horrendous genocide of Lings, Roaches, and Mutalisks. Hero's opponent, none other than Scarlet.
Scarlet, if there was Snoot, as one of the most storied foreigner players, forget Zerg, just in general, and E2, I've been hearing a lot about her Zerg versus Protoss.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty excited.
Absolutely. She's always had great CVP. She refused to admit it, but we all know it's true. And she's also very familiar with Hero. She's played him an awful lot. Of course, she's currently living in Korea, so they are going to be battling on the Korean server, which is a mystical place with less than a millisecond of lag and an instant 50 APM boost provided to all players.
And you win. You win 4 out of 10 more games.
You do. Absolutely. Everybody does, which is crazy when you think about it. I mean, it seems mathematically impossible, but the mysteries
it does not add up.
Of the Korean ladder, they cannot be solved by mere mortal minds.
No, it's just StarCraft is won in Korea. That's all that we understand and have been known for. That's actually, joking aside, it's what I get asked a lot. People are like, oh, StarCraft, okay. Are Koreans still really good? I'm like, yeah, Koreans are really good, man. That's what they hear.
So strange, isn't it, when you think about it? It's like, well, you know, the game, maybe not so popular in Korea, but the Koreans are still the best at it anyway, so, you know, it doesn't really matter. They're just good at whatever they apply themselves to. What can we say when it comes to competitive gaming? Newkirk Precinct. Something of a classic, a map perhaps known for its split map scenarios, usually involving Terran. Let's see if it happens here with a ZVP. To the southeast position, the challenger. In the blue trunks playing Zerg, the Queen of Blades, Scarlet. Versus her opponent, the reigning King of the Hill, having dispatched a Terran and 2 Zerg. Will he get the hat trick? In the red trunks from Team Root playing Protoss, he's Hero.
Now, almost every time you say anything, I'm scouring it for puns. That one checks out as clean, so we can move on. But Hero opting for this opening, which seems very conservative. It's also interesting because one of the dynamics of ShoutCraft Kings that we've talked about is your opponent is probably watching you play. There's enough money in the line that it would be kind of silly to think otherwise.
Not at the same time, by the way. We just want to point out there is a broadcast delay, so it is impossible to cheat. But certainly watching the preceding games.
Yeah, no. I mean, what I was getting at is, like, they're going to see your build, and if you do it several times in a row, there are counters to everything in StarCraft. That's part of the beauty of the game. It's not going to be a double gateway opening from Hero, but still that one gate expand. And Scarlet obviously not opting for a fast pool. She herself is opening up very standard. On the flip side, mining that gas and going for just a relatively normal opening. Where we go from there, we'll see. But Scarlet's usually very comfortable against even the best of the best going to mid and late game. She has not been the kind of player that's like, well, I'm going to cheese and that's how I'm going to win, or mix it. She will mix in some cheeses, but even her cheeses are like Scarlet cheeses, not the classic stuff that you see.
That is very true indeed. And we talked about her current Zerg versus Protoss form? Well, the numbers don't lie, folks, and they potentially spell disaster for Hero because she's on a 62.5% win ratio versus Protoss in competitive matchups. And of course, from what I'm hearing from that team house over there, she's not really losing practice matches or ladder matches versus Protoss ever. So I am very interested to see how that translates. 62.5% win ratio maybe doesn't sound like a lot to some people, but in StarCraft, that is high. There's no doubt. That is a dominant streak.
Well, especially when you're playing Koreans, by the way.
Yes.
And Scarlet is. If
She's only playing Koreans.
Yeah, if it's like the heyday of regionalistic WCS and you're playing against fellow Europeans or Americans, that's not nearly as impressive. But for these Korean players or players playing in Korea like Scarlet, that's really, really good. So the Adept does get in there, scouts out a couple things. He's nothing more than some Lings and a couple of Queens. But it sees the third hatch, excuse me. So that's actually pretty good information, obviously. That's all standard. So it's just more confirming that that is where we're going to go. Like you said on Newkirk, it can end up a little bit splitty, but it can also end up very 2-base or 3-base pushy from both players. The third base for the Protoss, if it goes towards the middle of the map, is very attackable. If it goes to the left side of the map, well, that kind of opens up the natural to being attacked. So a lot of times, yeah, we're seeing that standard here.
Indeed, Slovalore drop to the south of the map, which is a little bit standard Scarlet as of late. Looks like potential two-pronged attack right here with more Lings on the way. There's only a single Adept in a Mothership core, so this could do some damage. It will certainly force Hero back to defend. Bear in mind, with this opening, this is great because there's no pylon near the mineral line for an overcharge. So, trading 6 Lings for 4 probes? Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, and
He's not done yet. She's not done. There's another... Oh, and now we actually have Speed Overlord available here as well.
Wow. It's even going to see the Warp Prism, which Scarlet probably should have known that was coming.
Oh my god, there's way more. This is not just a single Overlord. There are now 3, and there are Queens in it as well. This is a concerted attack, but DTs have been walked in, and there is no Overseer.
Yeah, which makes this a little bit interesting for Scarlet. She is going to pick off that Mothership Core, which means she can continue to kind of counterattack. She's going to start adding defenses eventually here for the Dark Templar. She's doing a lot of economic damage, so the Lings actually bust into the natural. The probes are being evacuated. So yes, the Dark Templar have no natural counter at all right now. There's no lair. There's no ability to make an Overseer. There's also no detection back at home, by the way. Scarlet might want to think twice about
spore.
that. He's just going to kill every probe that ever existed, so I guess you don't need detection?
I mean, I don't know. Surprisingly enough, she cut workers hard. She put a third base down and didn't build a single drone there. She's now building drones, but we know there are DTs. And there is a Warp Prism as well. Hero is, of course, going to counterattack unless Scarlet can keep piling on the pressure, which she absolutely is. Another full frontal attack plus a direct drop, and the Queens are back in town. Good lord. She's going to force pullback. I mean, is Hero going to blink?
No, he's got to go for it.
He's not. He's going to go for it, isn't he? This is bonkers.
If he can drop on top, if Scarlet miscontrols in the main mineral line, he actually has no detection again. There's no lair. Oh, the Warp Prism just kind of flies over. It's going to drop now on top with some good fancy pickup. But he cannot just kill drones. He has to end the game here. He has to do a lot of damage.
Yep, Queens are working on that that Mothership Core, and it is going to go down. There is not quite transfuse energy. Scarlet could have picked that one up and microed it. Unfortunately, did not, losing that Queen. And the DTs, of course, now working on this hatchery, and
oh my god,
it was Spore Reliant. You know, there's no lair, so the natural hatch is going down. The economy of both players has been severely damaged.
Yeah, I'm saying this because on paper it should be true, but Scarlet's way ahead. But even way ahead, I thought, you know, game over, Hero taps out. But with a single move here, finding that natural, and to be honest, punishing a greedy Scarlet, she knew about Dark Templar for quite a while, and as you had said earlier, TotalBiscuit, this is a very good point, she definitely did cut resources to make that attack happen, obviously, but to skimp on the detection at each base, I feel like was more than an unnecessary risk, and she may not be getting punished for it. Hero is starting to mine off that main base. He's starting to kind of recover, and this drop double Archon all of a sudden becomes the apex predator. I mean, there's not a good number of queens out here. There's no roaches. There's no ravagers. What stops this?
Well, a very good links around, but is Hero really going to allow that to happen with a warp prism there for a simple evacuation? Probably not. It's going to take a bit of patience from Scarlet to try and drive this off, and it's certainly going to force a lot of lost mining time, and that's not something that can really be afforded. Look at the precision of that play. One on the cliff, one on the bottom for maximum AoE effect.
Scarlet happily... I mean, she's just holding on for her life right now. Hero did kill a bunch of lings there, but as long as it's not drones... Scarlet, knowing that she's a little bit outmaneuvered tech-wise here, is going to go ahead and happily take that trade. Now Roach is coming out, and one of the Archons is quite low in shield, so its ability to kind of stick around and deal damage may have come to pass. Scarlet adding melee and Roach speed here, but Hero has fully recovered, basically. Both the bases are essentially fully saturated. There's a robotics bay coming in. I think that might be for, well, maybe Disruptor or something like that. It's pretty good in these mid-sized maps like this. But already, Hero's starting to think about taking a third. I say already, obviously the game's advanced past the normal third base timings, but forget all that. Scarlet did a really crazy Ling Queen drop thing.
Yeah, which that threw everything kind of out of whack, and she's still doing it, by the way. With the lack of anti-air, those Lings continuously come in, but Warp Prism now being used defensively. What a move from Hero, and Scarlet needs to pay attention. If she continues on that vector, she turns around. A little bit of a fake out right there, keeps that Overlord alive. We have another drop. Archons now making their way into the main base, and the Warp Prism to back them up. Where is the defense? There's not an awful lot. Quick transfuse there on the Queen. Roach is now in the mix, and an evacuation. Scarlet saves the Queen.
Oh my god. It's double Warp Prism again. This is just what Hero does, and it's amazing and beautiful and fun to watch. He's going to go ahead and drop on top of that third base. Drone's getting pulled back. Scarlet doing a good job of maintaining strong crisis control here. Again, that third goes down behind this, though, and Scarlet sees it, but what can she possibly do about it? She's just trying to basically not die to these Warp Prisms right now.
And you know what? Right now, I think that's okay, for the most part. She's on 60 drones, got a good solid economic lead. That Nexus ain't going to be done for over another minute. Hero's probe count not exactly too healthy. If the Archons don't do critical economic damage with the Hydra Den on the way, I think Scarlet's getting herself into a good position here.
I agree. I think that's a good assessment there, TotalBiscuit. You're right. She can kind of just calculate that, yes, this harass has been annoying, but if you look at the workers killed, actually it's 27. When did that happen? That's a lot more than I thought. I guess... What? That just got snuck in there. Anyways, that's that thing where I was pretty sure that not a lot of the drones died, and then it's actually a decent number, but nonetheless, Scarlet is at 3 base saturation and hitting those Hydralisks like you said. Hydra's going to be good here, but again, Hero just seems to be... I don't know if it's one step ahead or like 17 dimensions or something ahead, but like he's already got disruptors. Now, disruptors aren't the hard counter to anything necessarily, Zerg, while also being the hard counter to everything necessarily, Zerg. It all comes down to hitting those shots, and if there's anyone I trust to hit shots, it's going to be a guy like Hero.
No doubt about that. It's interesting, of course, to see no attempt to go lurkers here from Scarlet. The Disruptor is a nice way to deal with lurkers, of course. You can fire that orb from a fairly reasonable distance if you know where they are. Even without detection, you could blow them up underground. But with the recent Hydralisk, there was a recent Hydralisk buff, I believe, that may very well have influenced that decision.
Yeah, they've always been, you know, Zergs have wanted them to be the core unit, one of the kind of backbone units, and they've always been a bit of a glass cannon, but now it's 90 health, I believe it is. Yes.
Yep,
they're
I
a little
believe
bit
they've got
more
10
tanky.
HP.
It's not huge, but here comes Hero. 3 disruptors there and an army that just kind of materializes out of nowhere. It's just the way he does things.
All right, here we go.
Connections.
Can Scarlet hold that third? We've got a nice big surrounder flank into the middle there. A pretty decent detonation. Focus fire right here on the Disruptors. Scarlet is driving this army away at the moment. Hydralisk firepower adding to the mix. Roach is in the mix here as well. But Scarlet's army seems almost too small to push this back, and yet managed it anyway. But the drone damage that was done in the process, I noticed that the drones were in the mix. They were in that fight, and they all got slaughtered.
Well, Scarlet, I mean, there's so many things to talk about right here. Like, Scarlet knew that she needed the drones, and actually the drones probably did help her tip the fight over in her favor, but Hero, being as good and wise as he is, did not overcommit. He backs up perfect force fields, and does not lose too much there. If he would have stayed and fought, he probably would have had his entire army wiped.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Because he pulled back and killed the drones like you said, he just takes his pound of flesh. He just takes his tax, his king's tax, and he backs away and says, fine, I'll kill you later.
And he may very well be looking to do just that. Great dodging so far from Scarlet, of course, having the benefit of creep, but in the center there, and kills the Disruptor right before the orb detonates. Really great focus fire. Scarlet with the splits right here, but does she have the firepower to drive this away? Mostly Stalkers here, and blinking forward aggressively, and that is it. Hero has said quite loudly, stop sending Zerg at me. Actually, you know what? Don't stop sending Zerg at me. I could use the payday.
I mean, that was a really cool game, though.
It really was.
Very subtle little things that went on. I want to even draw attention to the fact that part of the reason why Hero was able to take the really favorable engagement that, turned the engagement into a favorable one anyways, was because before that, not only was he getting good harass in on the mineral line and kind of secretly killing 27 drones and a lot of lings, he was also focusing on the creep. He continuously had an observer at the edge of the creep, and when he wasn't harassing the bases because he was recharging Archon health or Warp Prism health, he would pull back and kill a creep tumor or two. And when Scarlet pushed with that fight, a big part of the reason why she was winning that fight was because of the tankiness of Queens. But the Queens off creep cannot pursue, and that was the safe haven that Hero needed to then again warp in some more units, kind of recalibrate himself, and then push onward. Just amazing play from him. It's. I hope people are enjoying this as much as I am. I know there's like, I almost like shudder to mention this, but like a lot of people hate on Protoss play, and that's because it can end up being gimmicky or like all-in-ish. That is anything but what we're seeing here from Hero. He's opened up the same way in the PvZs. But with his flair and his execution and the double Warp Prism, how can you not love this stuff?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, seeing that particular fight as we do on the stream delay, I'm just watching it in the little window right now, and I'm noticing those subtle little evacuations, those double Warp Prisms were actually used to pull back some of those weakened units in the fight, getting maximum value out of that engagement, even as it was driven away, allowing his second follow-up attack to be all the more potent. This double Warp Prism play now becoming something of a signature of Hero, but used both in a fight and, of course, as harass, and effective either way, I have to say. And Scarlet put up a great fight there, really had Hero on the ropes at times, but just too strong, too consistent. I think we're going to have to give up on Zerg for a while, Jeff, so let's unveil our next opponent. If Zerg will not work, well, we have two other races to choose from, and this is going to be quite the challenge indeed. Hero will now have to face up against the man of 2016, no doubt about it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the world champion. It's Beyond.
World champion. In my opinion, when playing his best, I've never seen a higher level of StarCraft 2. I think he ascended to levels that Beyond Dark game series, really, at the end of that BlizzCon, but just an amazing display of talent and ability.
Well, he has had a couple of rough months, I have to say, and I think that's pretty predictable. As the world champion, you're the most analyzed player in the world. Everyone is paying attention to what you did. Everyone is trying to take it apart, figure out your weaknesses, and of course you have this giant target on your back. Everyone wants to take you down. And Beyond in particular I think his greatest strength may very well have also become his greatest weakness as of late, that he plays so many online events. He has so many games, there's so much tape on him out, that he can be studied more than maybe any other player in the world.
Yeah, and that's what Korea is famous for, by the way, is someone shows something, someone ascends, and then everyone else kind of mimics, studies, and dismantles, basically, like you said. And that's part of the reason why I feel like there hasn't been a true Banjua in StarCraft 2, or, it even calls into question, can there be? I mean, Koreans have always done that, but with StarCraft 2 not having as high of a skill ceiling as Brood War did, maybe even our best of the best, like a Beyond, cannot maintain that level, and it eventually gets figured out, and holes get poked in it. That's the question of 2017, I think, and he's kind of the test subject, if you will.
Indeed. I'm intrigued to see what happens with that, because I think we're definitely entering the era of TY at the moment after his massive victory at IEM, which comes right on the heels, by the way, of his $200,000 win at WESG. So he's actually earned $300,000 in less than 3 months, and that has put him in the top 5 earners of all time in less than 3 months, by the way. Since he has a seed to the BlizzCon Grand Finals, he could actually surpass MC, becoming the highest earning StarCraft player of all time in terms of prize money in less than a year, which would be insane. But there are a lot of people standing in his way, and of course, this man, well, he was the man in 2016. He's the BlizzCon World Champion, ladies and gentlemen, and he's not going to go down lightly. To the southeast position, the challenger. In the blue trunks, playing Terran. It's Beyond. Versus his opponent to the northwest position, the reigning king of the hill has 4 wins under his belt already. Will the streak continue? It's Root Hero.
And I have to check myself because I like it, because even when you were introducing Bunny, you're like, it's been a rough couple of months. He only made the round of 16 GSL. It's like, you know, you have a good tournament when that's the kind of introduction you give people. Like Beyond, we're like, man, it's been rough for him. He's only lost in the the semifinals of every major tournament to date so far, and he's just not his old dominant self, winning absolutely everything and crushing everybody. So if that's struggling, then give me their struggle. But Beyond here does trigger off a photon overcharge, a little bit premature there from Hero, a rare misexecution. Not at the end of the day a super big deal, as he does have an adept here and the ability to stop this Reaper from getting any probe kills, that's when it gets bad. If it gets a probe kill or 2, you're in a rough spot. But if it scouts things out well, you're dealing with a Reaper. It's the annoying little brother of StarCraft.
That's a really fast resonating glaive, don't you think, there?
Yes, absolutely.
In the meantime, a little Widowmine coming up, and a Starport as well. Do not assume that the Widowmine has lost its place in this particular matchup. Yes, it has certainly been nerfed. We are aware of that. But it's still a potent weapon. It can still be a very cost-effective weapon. And frankly, maybe even a necessary one. As of yet, anyway, I haven't seen too many styles in this matchup that don't use it, even after the nerf. Sometimes what we see is there'll be a nerf and the meta takes a while to adjust, and there usually needs to be a prodigy that kind of leads the way. If there is a different standard versus Protoss, then we're going to have somebody find it, and then they will define it for the next few months.
I think what we're seeing is Hero is doing a Meta Buster build where he drops as the Warp Prism, or excuse me, the Medevac with presumably Widow Mines is coming towards you. Unfortunately for him, this is actually a Cyclone Marine drop, which is uniquely okay against what it's facing, but it's going to be 2 ships passing in the night. Here comes that Warp Prism, and this drop is not going to find much purchase. And look at Hero just now adding the pylons that he'll need to Photon Overcharge and defend against this drop. And then, in the meantime, what's back at home for Beyond to defend with? Well, Jack and Squat.
Indeed. Not an awful lot. One has to wonder if Hero will be distracted by this aggression here. The Cyclone, of course, has a tendency of chewing through probe lines with Marines in the mix.
Never mind. Everything's great if you're Beyond. The War Prism's coming home. I guess to just help with the defense. I think that's a really weird choice. Yes, you can pick up and drop adepts, and that makes them a lot better, but a bit of an overreaction, I guess.
Do you think this is maybe just
Oh my god, he forgot Warp Gate! That's what happened! Holy shit!
He what?
He doesn't have Warp Gate!
Well, I mean, you did say it was a Meta Buster build. That's one way of looking at it. I guess you are absolutely right. Hero, in an uncharacteristic mistake or some sort of insane mad scientist nonsense, doesn't have Warp Gate yet.
It's a huge mistake.
Of course it is.
He only realizes, by the way, when the Warp Prism got over to the Terran space, and he's like, all right.
Yeah, he couldn't warp in.
Some adepts.
I was about to say, well, is that a respect play from Hero, saying, all right, well, Beyond's great, I've got to respect him, I've got to back off and defend? No! The Warp Prism, needless to say, ain't going to be doing much warping without Warp Gate. And that's not even a factor, usually. Like that's not even something we discuss, because we assume that that's going to be there. It's in every Protoss build ever. And yet, it just finished right now.
Oh, but I'll tell you what, well, the drop continues, never mind. Beyond is up 20 supply. He has not taken a third, which in this case is actually really good for Beyond. This is one of the responses, by the way, that we are seeing to that meta. I was talking about this earlier, where Terrans are starting to do a lot more 2-base timing attack stuff because of the greedy fast thirds that Protosses are taking. And they're doing it off the backs of Adepts, but we're starting to kind of figure out that as long as you have, 4+ Medivacs, and then usually a good number of Widow Mines, you're favored in the fight against Adepts. But again, Hero, like, what I'm waiting on TotalBiscuit is I want to see how he recovers. Because, like, despite forgetting Warp Gate in doing a build that's based entirely on Warp Gate, he seems to be in okay shape, and I'm confuddled as to how that's possible.
It is a little weird, isn't it? You know what's also a little bit weird, at least at this stage of the game? Like, those disruptors. Weird, lovely pickoff, by the way. Beyond actually cancels the +1, which is excellent, and realizes he's got a pretty good fighting chance here to maybe take out that Mothership core. There's the stim to do it. Disruptors in Warp Prisms this early against Terran. What do you reckon?
I reckon he's going to need some amazing magic with him. He gets one shot off, it only kills the single Marine, then loses the Disruptor. I think it might have just been too much. If you make a mistake against Beyond like this, you're making a mistake against the wrong guy. There's another whiff on the Disruptor, the Inspired Play. I mean, well, we have a counterattack behind this, but it's just... Okay, kill 20 SCVs, it doesn't matter. You're losing the army, and you're losing the third, he says, as a... Yeah, he is, okay.
Yeah, he will lose it, but... actually, no, he's not losing it somehow. That very nice use of the probes there, certainly to shut that down. It does get driven away. Didn't see any big disruptor hit by the looks of it. It's just so odd to me to see disruptors used against a player as fast as Beyond, who may be the best splitter in the world, although Maru might have something to say about that. It's probably exactly what you said, you know, it is a reaction to, oh, I don't have Warp Gate. Better get something out. Hey, I have a Robo. Let's just get a quick Robo Bay and maybe get something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, something pretty high tech. But it didn't serve him well. So far, I believe he's lost 2 disruptors for barely anything.
I think, yeah, the hardest disruptors to hit are the early ones where you don't have a lot supporting them. But I think what Hero is going for is if he could have somehow extended this game in the direction of, mid-level stuff, 150 supply, that kind of thing, then all of a sudden it becomes much more doable for him. And he's fighting tooth and nail to get there. You can hold on to this third if you can kind of start to amass this army. We have a Widowmine drop the natural, by the way. It's a pretty good amount of damage in there.
10 workers killed. Very, very nice indeed. That's the exact last thing the Hero needs at the moment. But oh, the disruptor flank. But oh, what a little piece of focus fire right there from Beyond. But a quick blink forward, and Beyond just never seems to quite have enough to close it out. I will say, though, with the third fully operational and the amount of economic damage that the Protoss has taken, and again, another 6 workers down, I feel like trading punches is something that the Terran could definitely afford right now, especially when it involves picking off high-value units like Disruptors.
Yeah, throughout this whole tournament so far, I found myself constantly kind of counting out Hero, being like, all right, here's the attack where he dies. Like this one that's approaching now, TotalBiscuit, I'm like, yeah, okay, surely he's dead now. But he's got Warp Prisms, he's got speed, he's got Disruptors, and he's got Hero Micro. And his... Yeah, he's facing Beyond, so again, he should just be dead, but he just never seems to be dead, like you said. Now the Doom drop, right? It's got to be over now.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? There's 3 Medivacs blazing towards the enemy base. The Protoss army is much smaller than the Terran. It can't afford to really split up, but the aggression on the third is really nowhere to be seen. Just a small force that's a little bit out of reach right now. We're going to maybe see a little bit of snipe tech here and there, a little bit of Widowmine detonation, but again, that's not going to be enough to really do significant damage. Here comes that body blow to the third, though. 2 Disruptors picked off immediately. No damage done, and this is got to be the time where that third finally falls.
Yeah, and that'll be the death blow. There's Beyond is counterattack, or not Beyond, excuse me, Hero's counterattacking. He gets a nice little connection there, but it's going to be too little too late. The third will actually die. And you combine that with the economic damage, the stagnation of upgrades for Hero back at his home and natural. And it seems like the bleeding has reached fatal levels at this point in time. He's got 4 disruptors, he's going to surround with these stalkers. So I mean, he's got to make magic happen, because even the +1 armor gets canceled there as well.
Yeah, Beyond has been so on top when it comes to cancelling tech. It's been very impressive to see. All right, he's, at this point, cancelling more technological advancement than Donald Trump. Beyond is smashing the natural at this point in time, and I really don't think that we're going to be seeing Hero come back from this, but we've said that before. A lot of disruptors, a decent number of blink stalkers. Beyond holding on, he may very well lose that third base, but in a base trade, I'm favoring the Terran here with an army double the size of his opponent.
Yeah, and there are probes out of the map. They do have money. It's just that this situation's so classically favoring of the Terran, because it's so hard for the Protoss to close this out. Like this Widow Mine here, he's got to blink away from it. But like a little thing like that, he didn't notice it, so he loses 3 stalkers immediately.
Can't afford that.
The units just kind of keep bleeding out here.
That's going to be it by the looks of it. The king is about to die after a lengthy and magnanimous reign. The world champion just too much for Liquid Hero. The king is dead. Long live the king, and a Terran ascends to the throne.
Oh, what a great performance from Hero, though, across those 5 games now. I went 4-1, if I'm doing math on stream correctly here. With some like really big come from behind, some great subtle plays, the word that we kind of keep harping on. But here against Beyond, he faced, I feel like, his equal foe. Like Beyond, also the player that's able to make those amazing decisions and is also able to drag games back. But also, Beyond was handed a bit of a gift here, and it's kind of amazing. You got to remind yourself, Hero literally did an opening that relies on Warp Gate. Like, it was, there's no other way to put it. He did a fast Warp Prism before any observers came out. He chrono boosted everything except the Warp Gate, of which he was not upgrading, only to realize his mistake when the Warp Prism gets to his opponent's base. Not before that, by the way. Which is really late. So for all that to go down and for Hero to still make this as good of a game as he did, I feel like we can be pretty happy and secure of the fact that Hero played very well.
He did. That was a great game, but as I said, as you said, that Warp Gate mistake was catastrophic, as was abundantly clear. A lesser player would have fallen probably right then and there.
Oh, yeah.
A valiant attempt, certainly by Hero. I imagine that were Warp Gate not forgotten, that would have been certainly a much closer game. Could have gone either way, but Beyond was definitely on top in that situation, and there was no chance, I think, for Hero. He was living on borrowed time for quite some time, really. I'm surprised he held that third as well as he did.
Well, it was brilliant, TotalBiscuit. Like, the attack, I was calling it a meta buster because, in my opinion, it was timed out so that it hits while the Terran is doing its traditional drop harass. And I feel like, 3, 6, 9 or so adepts in that base we saw. Beyond only had, I think it was 6 or 7 Marines, no medevacs, a Widow Mine, which could easily be avoided, and no upgrades to boot. So all of a sudden, we're talking about potentially a dead Beyond before the action even really gets going. Because his drop harass was doing some damage, but there was defenses back at home. Whereas for Beyond, like I said, just a low Marine count.
It was very nice. It was a great game. Every game's been so good so far. This is a great start to our event, and we have so much more to come. And of course, with Beyond on the throne, that's pretty much a guarantee of good games. Beyond may very well thrive on stage recently, but when it comes to online, I mean, this guy's the undisputed emperor.
Yes. And he is, like I said, I feel like he's like the comparable Hero player for Terrans. He's very scrappy, really smart, great execution, huge micro, and really exciting. He's just all over the place at all times, immaculately controlling everything. It's going to be a true treat.
Well, I have another treat for you. I have so many treats. I have so many treats that you will feel bloated by the end of this show, but happy nonetheless. You might have to work it off in the gym, I have to say. The next opponent is somebody that made quite an impact in ShoutCraft Kings January. Surprised an awful lot of people. Although perhaps he shouldn't have, considering his recent record. It's been great to see players from this region finally entering competition against the Koreans. I have for you China's Iasonu.
I can't remember who he beat in January.
He beat Zest, and he beat Trap.
And those were great games, too. Played really, really well. If I remember correctly, I feel like he just outplayed Zest, which was something we are not accustomed to saying. But a very good performance from that Chinese player. And he's going to, I mean, now, I love the way this works. You're like, oh, good performance. Let's see if you can do it against Beyond. Because 9 times out of 10, anyone except the other absolute top-tier Korean player, when facing Beyond, gets made to look silly. Like, just look bad. That's one of the things that's kind of intimidating about StarCraft. If you're outmatched or you make a mistake, the game's very punishing. You can actually look kind of stupid, you know, and that same person that we look down on and we're like, you look stupid, they would make all of us look stupid. But against Beyond, that can happen. So he's going to have to give us his best effort here.
That he certainly will. Belshir Vestige is going to be the venue for the next encounter here. Always a pleasure to watch Beyond play Terran versus Zerg. No doubt about that. Especially against a great opponent, and one that can pull off some very unexpected maneuvers. If you recall correctly, Iasonu was the one that broke out that insane swarm host build that completely caught Zest off guard.
That was great. We're seeing a lot more of that, but it's still kind of shocking and refreshing to see, and it was cool to see from a player like him.
Here we go, folks. The next map is Belshir Vestige. It's Beyond on the throne. Let's see if he can get a streak. He is, of course, one of the streakiest players in this event, no doubt about that. He is second place in terms of number of wins. Just a quick pause by the looks of it for hotkeys from Starry, aka Iasonu. But Beyond's record is quite impressive, I have to say, in this tournament. So second only to Innovation, in fact. He's had 12 wins in total. And it's been very even for him. He actually has an even number of wins against all 3 races, 4 apiece.
Perfectly balanced warrior.
That said, he's been murdered by Zerg on more than one occasion. He actually has a 50-50 win rate in this tournament versus Zerg, whereas versus every other race, he has only dropped 1 map total. 0 maps to Protoss, 1 map to Terran.
Interesting. I mean, a lot of that's who you're playing against. You know, it's been nothing but absolute top-tier players, so for whatever reason, I guess Beyond might have been having trouble with those Zerg guys, but we'll see if he has a weakness. I feel like if he were to struggle against Iasonu, and again, Iasonu is a top Korean ladder player, but Korean ladder, that's really good, that's awesome, but those players are playing, you know, comfortably and with nothing on the line. You start to elevate that, you start to put these guys on stages, you put them in front of crowds, you even now online in front of 11,000 plus fantastic people, thank you all for tuning in, and playing for very good money, all of a sudden, those Korean players in particular become, well, they become mean, TotalBiscuit. That's why we're seeing proxy barracks about 1 stone's toss throw away from the natural.
Surprise, surprise. This is, with a third, is he really going to go for 3 racks here? He actually is. I mean, is that a full wall-off? It looks like one.
It might actually be, but there's no gas behind this. We're accustomed to seeing proxy Reaper or anything like that. Actual proxy, just Marine bunker rush. We haven't seen that in a very, I mean, someone's gonna be like, Jeff, on February 27th. It's like, okay, yes, it's probably happened recently, but it's not.
For $25 in this event at 3 a.m. cast by New Ponzor 474. It is exactly what you said it is, and it's perfectly executed so far. He can't see a damn thing. Iasonu is so utterly blind to this.
The spawning pool's in reach. He's gonna build a bunker. Watch, build a bunker. Do it, Beyond. Oh, he's not gonna go for it. I would have built a bunker at the top of the ramp. Why not? It reaches the frickin' spawning pool.
To me, I mean, is this enough of a tell for Iasonu to realize what's happening? I mean, he certainly realizes now that the hatchery has seen the bunker after it completes, of course. Hatcheries get just a little bit more vision range. This is a very aggressive start and a very difficult thing to deal with for Iasonu. In fact, this may very well be a very quick execution.
Oh my god. The SCV has 2 kills, by the way.
It does. It precision focus fire from an SCV of all things. A full-on proxy bunker rush.
Yeah, I mean, the hatch is going to die. It's more of a question of how does Iasonu kind of not overreact, if that's a thing we can say here. Lings are useless. He is adding a roach den behind this. Yeah. And that is the Warren, excuse me. That's the beginning of something he needs to deal with this. He's going to need Ravagers. And it becomes weird for Beyond. He's mining gas behind this. We'll add a factory back at home. But even that, like, killing the hatchery is really nice, but a good ball of rolling Ravager could do some damage. You see that Overlord inside the main of Beyond that can spot for the high ground. And Ravagers can do one-way damage, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how Beyond kind of follows this up.
He's walling the Zerg in. The Zerg has no way out other than Overlord drop at this point. He has floated the barracks over. The Great Wall of Beyond is going to make Iasonu pay for it. At this point, I don't know what Iasonu can really do. I mean, Ravager is literally the only answer to this, assuming that's even an answer. Beyond's even pulled a bunch of Marines back, thinking that he's got enough to ward Iasonu away for the time being.
He's gonna get Overlord too. He's gonna get both.
Oh god.
There's no spotting. And the wall does persist. It's huge, TotalBiscuit. It's huge. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, no doubt.
Other people have walls. We've got the best one. It's huge.
I am floored, frankly, by the execution of this from Beyond, and Iasonu must be hating life at the moment. Pro gamer or no pro gamer, I don't care how professional you are, this has got to rattle your cage. I mean, for God's sake, there's a barracks in the natural.
Yeah, the classic barracks block, you know?
Yeah, standard, completely standard. Ravager now firing away, that lone SCV just diligently repairing that bunker just to add insult to injury. This will eventually be broken, but at what cost, of course? We've already got a command center on the way. There's more than...
Marine.
Yeah.
Just attack it. Oh my god, he's gonna salvage. Don't do it.
He salvages it in the nick.
God.
That's disgusting. Completely disgusting.
Well, I mean, so like the fear was going to be, how does he hold off Ravagers? By picking off both the Overlords. He's in zero danger, but even if he doesn't do that, there's a lot of Marines back here. He's going for Cloaked Banshee. Gun is... he's playing on a different level from the rest of us. He's got his natural... well, not his natural, excuse me, but his second orbital finishing up here as well. And, you know, poor Iasonu, because it's not like I look at this and I go, well, man, he clearly made this and this huge mistake.
No, it totally
didn't.
didn't.
Gotta check around for proxies, I guess, but it has really become fairly uncommon, I have to say.
More so even in Kings. People, when this tournament first started out, and we thought the same thing, by the way, that this would be a pretty cheesy event. You know, best of one, a cheese can catch someone off guard, instant payday. As it turns out, no, because the flip side of that is you take a risk like that, you don't get a second chance. So a lot of these guys say, no, we're just going to play standard games. We've seen very little cheese in this entire tournament. I can think of a handful of maps where it's happened. So... honestly, no, I don't blame Iasonu for this whatsoever. This is just a great move from Beyond, perfectly executed, and now he's pretty damn far ahead.
Yep, and he's got a Banshee coming over, so the bad news just keeps rolling in. Iasonu is going to have access to Overseers here in a second. He's going to have some Spore Crawlers, but even just spending the money on the defense is a bit of a hindrance. For a Zerg that is already feeling quite behind. He has to know that the natural is up, and that natural is locked down for Beyond, by the way. There's only like the hopes and dreams of this young Chinese player of getting over there and ever doing anything. In fact, right now, he's just working on trying to mine off his natural. It's just, you gotta take it at baby strides right now. You can't go for the full. Attacking is much later.
At this point, yes, it really, really is. And just trying, like, not to lose even more stuff, but I'm just extremely concerned at, well, at least the Banshee gets shut down and doesn't do massive damage, but honestly, like, even a bit of damage is kind of enough when you're on the same number of bases as the Terran, your base was later, and you're almost 10 workers behind, you know? That's maybe an inefficient trade for Beyond to have built Cloak and only used a single Banshee and only kind of got 4 workers with it. Yeah, that's not economically efficient, but this is a pretty unique game, and I don't think that matters so much. So, how does Iasonu... in fact, actually, I cancel that thought. There's a second Cloak Banshee just sharking around the place, but how does Iasonu even think about coming back into this game right now?
Oh, jeez. Think about it? I guess with some kind of weird composition. We see him upgrading +1 range attack. Presumably it's going to be Carapace on the second evolution chamber. The timing of those upgrades are obviously tragic. I feel like he's kind of thrown into freestyling right now, which is probably not his strong suit. But I guess the short end of it is some kind of weird composition. Something like massive Ravager and Ling, and hope for a weird Beyond engagement. It's just, you know, as history has shown, when you're playing against a player like a Beyond, and you're like, gosh, I'm playing towards hoping he makes a mistake, very rarely does that ever end any other way than, well, it turns out the god tier player didn't make a mistake. Not that I'm faulting Iasonu, by the way, because if he just plays normal and straight up, guess what? He's just playing, you know, with both arms and one of his legs tied behind his back. Literally one of his legs tied behind his back.
Iasonu with a decent composition in this position, considering the choke point. You know, you can do a lot with these Ravager bolts, but you are dealing with Beyond, one of the best splitters in the world, and Beyond just said, I'm going to get right on top of you, dodging every single corrosive bile, eliminating every single Ravager. GG. Yeah. No mess, no fuss. Beyond is playing to win and wants to prove a point here today.
Yeah, he made short work of poor Iasonu, who did have that good performance in January. And again,
he did.
You can check out that stuff on TotalBiscuit's YouTube, where it was really surprising. We were kind of, I remember now our cast, where we're kind of like, not talking about this gimmick or this cheese that he pulled off, but rather just this really well-executed, different style of play that threw these really good players off. But he was never able to get his ship off the ground in this game, as Beyond reached back into his bag of tricks and pulls out a historical one. I mean, 3 proxy barracks right outside your base. You don't even scout for anymore, because it just never happens.
No, you just don't see that kind of thing coming. It's kind of unfortunate, again, because I was very excited to see Iasonu play. He put on a great performance in January, you know, he knocking off 2 of the best Protoss in the world on your debut. That's great, you know, that's really proving a point. And honestly, like, Iasonu's performance over the last few months, he hasn't played too much competitively, but he's consistently beating great Korean players. He's top of the table in China right now, just above Tude Ming, who, yes, is still around, and yes, still competitive, by the way. He won at least 2 tournaments last year, late last year, in fact. But Iasonu, kind of the top guy at the moment, is always competing with Koreans. He plays on the Korean ladder constantly. In fact, here's a little factoid. Partly from lag and partly from preference, Iasonu asked me specifically to only be put against Koreans in this tournament. He told me that.
Yeah.
Don't blame him. He's got a lot of experience against these guys, and that's helping him out an awful lot. But Beyond's the world champion, and maybe a little bit of that luster has vanished over the last couple of months simply because he hasn't been winning everything. How dare he? But it's Beyond. Come on, don't mess.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Beyond for me, again, is even if he's not winning everything, if he ever hits that high gear, maybe even just for one game or for one series, I still think he's the best player maybe ever in StarCraft 2. So when you have that ability to hit this level where it's like, yeah, I'm just better than everybody, that makes you obviously infinitely dangerous. So did he hit that high level this last game? No. Has he hit it this year? Probably not, but he could.
No doubt about it. Well, let's see if he can put on yet another streak, because here's the thing. He could achieve something else today. Something that I believe he quite enjoys doing, and that's beating Innovation. He's only a couple of maps away from passing him in terms of total wins in ShoutCraft Kings. And Innovation, of course, a guy that tends to show up in pretty much every event we do.
I'm sure he's lurking somewhere in this map, or in this player base as well.
Oh, I couldn't possibly comment. Well, Let's see what Beyond can do against their next opponent. This guy has had a brilliant 2016 and continues his climb to potentially the position of best foreign player at the moment. I would say there is more than a stronger argument to suggest he's the best foreign Protoss right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.